Just really quick intro, I'd like to introduce Margaret Jefferies over here. Her background is in geography and community development work, and she's really well known in Canterbury for leading up Project Lipton. Myself, my background is in resource management and life science, and increasingly looking at community-based solutions to difficult natural resource problems. And so what we'd like to cover in our rapid fire presentation, and I'll have to apologise up front for this, is just two key things, and that's why we need participative community-based projects. And I have to thank Susan somewhat for setting this up really well with her keynote. And then the question of, do they actually work? And at the heart of all of this is quite a series of gritty questions about how we actually make progress in society and what is the goal. What we do know is that we have a lot of differences in perceptions about what is progress, and this is underpinning it all. Now, what is one person's idea of progress is another idea of destruction, and probably don't need convincing people in this room about what the results of that all are, but there are many signs that that is not leading to a really healthy planet. And I love this little cartoon here, and this sort of suggests to me, well, do we throw our hands up in the air and go, it's a real pickle, and let's just get on and make the most of it before it all melts down, or do we actually do something about it? In the resource management field, people have been looking at these issues for quite a while. What's interested in me coming from a science background is that the management focus really forces us to look at where the people fit in, and that means it's a really complex scenario basically. Panels of experts, for example, having technical solutions might only be able to take us partway to solutions of things. Another way of looking at it is to look around and just see what is working. And what we've found around the world, and we're going to have the example from Margaret of a local thing at the end, is that many participative and community-based approaches are actually providing solutions and making a difference, making change, whereas the status quo, business as usual approach didn't actually work. So, what is this argument for participatory, community-based approaches? Well, I've just picked out 2 points really. One is the idea that, assuming we don't know all the answers yet, and this kind of relates to what Susan was setting up quite nicely for me. We need to look ahead, we don't really know what the answers are. We need to keep working on them somehow. We also need some action, so we might need to take action even with some uncertainty. And the other thing is buy-in. It's really key strength of this approach because, of course, we need the buy-in of people anyway. A more subtle point is that people don't just buy into ideas coming in cold. Someone has to plant a seed and it has to be thrashed around a wee bit. And the whole educational process is a part of ultimately mainstreaming any good idea. And it's probably the test of whether or not it was a good idea at all, whether or not it got picked up. And one way of looking at this is that 11th hour idea is, well, can we bring in good ideas before the 12th hour, and preferably as early as possible. So just drilling down on those 2 points a little bit more, is the idea that these community-based approaches, could they actually create more knowledge and wisdom than the traditional way of doing it? And a lot of this is about rediscovering what we do actually know, really such as traditional forms of knowledge. And I'd like to just do a little experiment here. So it's the idea of collective wisdom, such as in this book. Hands up here, who's used Wikipedia before? That's pretty impressive. Now keep your hand up if you regard it as a reasonably authoritative source of information. So that's a pretty clear-cut result. And of course, I guess people already know that is an example of a crowdsourcing idea, which is all about the wisdom of crowds. So I won't go into detail there, but I think people know how Wikipedia is set up as actually an example of sourcing the collective wisdom that's already out there. And the key thing about that is that it's got participation. That's how it managed to become such an effective tool, because people participated with it and it was successful in sourcing the wisdom of the crowd. The other point I drilled down on is creating buy-in. Now, this turns out to be a really complex area. Our person takes on things, our sets of beliefs, our idea of what's right and what's wrong, and our own identity is fundamental to whether or not we're going to buy into them. And I've dropped in this idea that there is a natural reluctance of people to be part of change. I think Susan covered this quite well earlier on, but there's at least two reasons to this that occurs to me. One is that it's complicated, complex issues. It's hard for people to see the benefits of having to make any change, perhaps. This is an idea. For example, maybe people don't even recognise the existence of a problem. So we haven't got past stage one. And the other thing that's recurring is that there's a tension between the present and the future all the time. Why do people want to make a sacrifice for the future and forego something they can do now? So those are two good reasons why it is difficult to create that buy-in. So how do these community-based approaches actually work to do something there? The idea is intense community focus is able to attract the participation, and so at the heart of it, it's building relationships and having a conversation about these issues. Right, I'm going to flip right through there and hand over to Margaret to answer the golden question of, does it actually work when you put it into practice?
Thank you for being here. I'm just moving very quickly here through because I think I've got about 2 minutes. Looking at Project Lyttelton as an example, as a community group that is actually getting action on the ground. And I've just gone here quickly in this mind map that I like doing, draw like a kid. Who are we and how we work? Moving around that diagram, you can see that we're vision-led. That's really important. We have a vision statement that we go by, and that's around sustainability. The next thing we move from there is we develop projects based on that vision. And they've got to be aligned to that vision. So I've named a whole lot there around time bank festivals, communication. We've got a new project about going spray-free. Then with those projects, down the bottom, it's got to have a champion to run with it in a team. So that's how we work. The thing that we're doing all of the time is growing local, talking about people, relationships, education, food, skills. Now come to the left-hand side, the 9 o'clock part of this slide, and you can see values. Very important that we're values-based, and I've kept on drawing those hearts in there because it's about relationship, about love and so on. And in the top left-hand corner is play. We've got to make sure that we have a good time when we're doing it all. And at the top is, whoa, we've got 1 minute, look at nature as a model. Okay, we'll look at the next one. Ways that we work. Now a lot of community groups could actually follow and do things like have farmers market, have time banks and so on. You could do all of those sort of things, but it mightn't work. Some of the things I've got here on this flower, you've got to just start. Whether you've got it all sorted out or not, you've got to start. Trust the process, trust one another. It's huge. Become fluid, be able to move with emotion. Create a culture of possibility. Always say yes and, not that won't work. Create this culture of possibility. Looking at collective wisdom. Now moving down in that bottom part is being conscious. Acknowledge one another. Love. Oh, and I've got to stop. So I'll just quickly, looking at 2 projects. One was about collective wisdom, looking at time communication, which we do well, except at speed. And the next one was looking at time banks, and the next one was looking at seeing the big picture, thinking strategically, acting locally. And I've named a lot of those things that we have problems with in the thing, but I've added at the bottom there, we are creative beings. We are part of the model of Earth. Thank you.